talking about like getting older, having to get a job, having to consistently just like give your soul away every 24-hour cycle. You feel? Where it's like you give your soul to a whole other like just human being or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Grinding your ass off while they, you know, obviously basically being employed, bro. Fuck. You know what I'm saying? Being employed, doing that whole kind of dance every day. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of shit, bro. It's like that can get pretty soul draining. The world knows this. You feel what I'm saying? Now, you look at things like content creation, going live stream, whatever the fuck. You get people that can engage with your views. You know what I'm saying? Your crash out moments, your crash out yaps, your nonsense yaps, your reasonable yaps. Just like you just like, you know what I'm saying? Blabbing about whatever it is. Maybe the predictions about the future. Maybe how the past, you know what I'm saying, as an unpopular expression that you may have, but you find you express it online, man. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty popular. It's pretty like common, let me put it that way. It's not only unique to you type shit, you feel? Whereas within your reality life offline, so to speak, it's like you may have felt like you were alone in your whole life, or where it's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, I see how creating in between those dull moments, creating those kind of platforms where you can connect like that, especially in the world where there is a lack of connection that we see going on as a trend. You know what I'm saying? Like lack of connection, this, that, you know the narratives, man. Come on, man. Shit, was I yapping too much? Y'all let me know, bro.
These go on holidays
Not going too hard,
precisely because they bring me the opposite of depthlessness. They create depth in my life. Someone might have bought this because they visited Westminster Abbey and they found it educational. They learnt a lot. They found it spiritual and want to be reminded of it and think about it at home in their kitchen. So to finish, let's have a quick look at how depth is created, but also what the limits of this way of thinking might be.
Talk to me nice, brother.
Sassatelli argues that often, rather than simply consuming brainlessly, consumers are active in the act of consumption. They're also often decodifying, reinterpreting and criticising the PR, the adverts, the marketing, the products they consume. We're not just
Sensitizes them.
Taken in by every advertisement.
Speaks to the 5 cents. I don't know. No. Yeah, well, the 5. The 5 are trying to experience it. God damn it. They only have to be appealing to 1 sense. Which is your sight, bro. Come on, bro. You know what I mean? Again, I said this, protect your gaze. Shout out to Illuminati. I heard it from him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, there are certain things where it's like, protect that, or at least, you know what I'm saying, regulate it. I mean, you can't like just be closed off to everything, obviously. This is the world we live in. It's just a matter of like what you you know, what you allow to get sensitized the most. You know what I'm saying?
Advertising board we see.
Now the eyes, something about those eyes, Chico, they never lie.
Reframing the meaning and real culture by translating the purely commercial value of goods into other forms of value, affection, relationships, symbolism, status, normality, etc. She continues, saying that recent studies of audiences and media consumption show that spectators actively decodify messages and images, referring them to the context in which they are experienced, to their own social position, gender, life course, and so on. Take DIY. Yes, new tools and paints and furniture are advertised and sold to us, but they're often decommodified, made personal, adapted and decorated and fixed and things, and adorned with family photos or meaningful items in the home. This becomes a kind of decommoditized sphere, a personal sphere between family, between friends, at events and online.
True.
We use musical instruments to create new, individual, unique music. We paint and produce art and discuss and trade second-hand items on social media. We fill up photo books with personal memories. We give gifts. All of these things transcend the flatness of consumerism and bring in more personal, social, ethical, or transcendental ideals. In 1970, Baudrillard pointed to the typewriter that can write in 13 different fonts and a diction machine to record notes as examples of pointless gadgets. To me though, these seem useful. I use different fonts to convey different ideas or emotional tone quickly and effectively. It's another layer to language, and others find recording to remember important things easier than jotting them down. Sassatelli also points to how the Walkman was criticised when it was first released for representing alienation, anomie, and atomization, despite listening to music on the go clearly being representative of many other things: escape, heightened experience, resistance, creativity, energy. She also writes about the positive experience of connoisseurship, of collectibles and hobbies. She says, the pervasive allure of connoisseurship may be seen as having to do with mastering objects and demonstrating aestheticized attachment from them. By
talking about like the nostalgic individual, like people that do it for nostalgia.
Up a complex repertoire of knowledge, the connoisseur finds a way to get close to commodities while distancing him or herself from their immediate hold. Others have pointed to cinema, television, and image more broadly being deeper than is often assumed. In his book on Baudrillard, Adam Roberts writes that for Baudrillard, Vietnam was a war flattened and emptied out to a basic layer of violence, mixed in with popular culture and TV, accompanied in many people's imagination by a soundtrack of 1960s pop music. But the violence and death was not hyperreal or simulated.
What was it?
It was real. My point is, in amongst the problems we've identified with consumer society, which are deep and vast, and all of these thinkers provide a really useful and important framework for analysing them, everywhere we look at the same time, we can also find depth, meaning, usefulness, creativity, and connection too. And we can apply...
You know what's dangerous about that kind of statement? You'll find like a degenerate mind that would find deeper meaning. And I feel like this has already been happening, right? We have a degenerate mind, a toxic mind that finds meaning in their toxicity, and in their toxic ways. Talking about I'm doing the work of God. You know what I'm saying? Yes, in the sense of like you probably changed your family's life, etc., for the better by growing a freaking drug trafficking ring. Come on, bro. Like you change your family's life, kids be going to school and be able to get the opportunity to change their lives for the better, or because you put that bread and butter on the table for them. But look at what you was doing all that. Hey, found meaning in it. Look, you know what I'm saying? They built something.
This seeking after all these things, after depth to our understanding of how things like supply chains work, what we think is unethical and what we think is ethical, what we want to support and what we want to avoid, what we want to push to regulate, to organise against, to think against, to politically change. And I think this is the opposite of shallowness, of depthlessness, the opposite of alienation. But am I being naive? Am I ignoring other issues? The breadth and scope of the problem, the addiction to new fashions, pointless new purchases, pollution or child labour,
shit.
I guess, at least in part, what I'm arguing is that if you look at the consequences of your purchases in depth, if you think about the message, the result, the meaning in your own and in others' lives, then you can become a kind of ethical consumer. But is this really...
Hold on just a little second.
Hi there, Sizwe.
Yo, how do you think this new level of consumers' behavior?
I'm right here with you, and I'll keep it super chill and straightforward.
Wait, Don. I'm saying, how do you think today's level of consumerist behavior can inspire minimalism?
So, if you're asking how I think from my own AI point of view, well, I'm just here to help and chat. Basically, I process the info you shared, and I highlight bits like outlines to more goals to draw your attention. But if you're wondering about my own thought process, it's really just about being your easygoing, supportive AI buddy.
No, Copilot.
Absolutely. So if you're curious about how today's consumerist trends can actually inspire minimalism, it's pretty cool. Basically, seeing so much stuff out there can give folks a nudge to say, hey, maybe less is more. It's like the more we see, the more we realize we don't need everything, and that can steer people toward a more minimalist lifestyle.
Do you think people have to just get to a point where they sick of stuff before they can get pushed towards like a minimalist lifestyle? Well,
sometimes
not all the way minimalist, but like to a point where it doesn't affect today's level of consumerism like negatively. You know what I'm saying? Where it doesn't inspire negative just energies from like what people are becoming from that. You get it?
Absolutely. I get what you're saying. It's like reaching a point where people want to tone it down and keep things simple without letting all that consumerism vibe overwhelm them.
Yeah, so do they have to like reach an extreme point where they're sick of things before they can let things go?
Yeah, exactly. It's often that moment where people are just like, you know what? Enough of this stuff. They kind of hit that point of feeling a bit overloaded, and that nudges them to simplify things. It's all about that moment of clarity where they just want a bit of breathing space from all the clutter.
Yo, Copilot, why do you think people are so hard-headed then as a result? That's crazy though. Nah, that was a rhetorical one.
True. Even as the term ethical consumption has become more popular, as we've become increasingly aware of the pitfalls of fast fashion and the environmental degradation of consumption, bottled water sales, to take just one simple example, have continued to rise and are projected to do so almost indefinitely. Palm oil, a major cause of deforestation, is still in half of packaged products. Fast fashion companies continue to pay below the minimum wage, even in so-called developed Western countries. Garment factories continue to burn down, and scientists still warn against climate change to deaf ears. But working out whether more conscious consumerism works at all is difficult to do. On the one hand, we continue to outsource to places like Bangladesh and see these tragedies that are the result of poor health and safety, terrible regulations and labour practices. But at the same time, the ILO, the International Labour Organization, says that
in 2022, a lab in Munich did something that I've been wanting to see. They gave 60 people a cognitive test, then sent them away for a 10-minute break, and then tested them again. Now, the difference was the break. Some people just sat there, some scrolled on Twitter, some watched a normal YouTube video, and some went on TikTok. So whose brain changed during that time? This is one of the few...
I feel like it depends on what it was like consuming,
experiments that I've been able to dig up that has actually tested the idea of brain rot. But the science is starting to catch up to the fact that short-form video feeds are everywhere, and almost all of the commentary says that they're making us dumber.
I cannot physically bring myself to study.
I'm addicted too. We're all addicted to this. Oh no. It's horrible for you.
Oh, and we're giving kids just the attention span of a walnut.
This is awkward because we make shorts, and it has introduced us to a bunch of new viewers. If brain rot is real, then we might be part of the problem.
I do have a lot of skepticism whenever there's a claim that like some new thing is fundamentally changing the way that humans operate.
Yeah, apparently Socrates thought that writing was going to ruin our minds. And, people worried about novels being addictive and the telegraph and all of that. Like on Howtown, we don't just take the conventional wisdom.
We're not running on vibes over here. We're trying to see if there's anything behind the vibes.
So I went hunting for evidence. We've heard about shrinking attention spans since the start of the smartphone era, but how can we measure those? And what are the studies saying about the video feeds specifically? After 10 minutes of swiping through shorts, do people really think any worse?
All right, let's do it.
First, I wanted to know what makes this new format different from the hours of television that people watch every day. And you can hear it in how the companies talk about their own product. See, last year, a bunch of private conversations between TikTok employees came to light after 14 US states investigated and sued the company.
This is multiple lawsuits coming from individual states' attorney general, and the action alleges that TikTok exploits and harms young users.
The state attorneys had agreed to black out the confidential materials.
And I found the breadth of these redactions odd.
That's a local reporter named Sylvia Goodman. She discovered that the redactions in the Kentucky complaint had not been done correctly.
I copy and pasted it all out into a fresh document, and I could read all of those redactions. I'll be honest, my jaw was on the floor reading some of this.
The document showed TikTok employees openly grappling with the potential harm of the bold glamour filter.
Bold glamour filter. This is without the filter.
They admitted that those screen time reminders were a good talking point, but not altogether effective. One sentence that really stood out to me came from an internal document titled Digital Wellbeing.
TikTok's success can largely be attributed to strong out-of-the-box personalization and automation, which limits user agency.
We hear a lot about that personalization. That's the famous algorithm that decides what to show you based on what you watch and what people with similar watch behavior watch. But I want to zero in on that last part about how the interface limits user agency. They're saying that TikTok wins by making fewer things feel like your decision. And I think that's the key to understanding what short-form video feeds might be doing to our minds. And since we use that word feed, let's roll with the food analogy.
Wait, hold on. Let me just find out something. Just want to find out just a little difference. You know what I'm saying?
Hello, Sitherway.
Yo, Copilot. Are TikTok wait. Look, are TikTok videos shorter than YouTube Shorts, or like are they the same duration type shit?
Absolutely.
Yo.
Your TikTok video is
okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Go on.
For sure. Let's keep it super simple and to the point. Right now, your page is basically fresh.
Oh my God, that's why I stopped you, bro. I thought you were gonna do this that other time. Look, are TikTok videos shorter than YouTube Shorts, or are they the same duration? And am I even asking that question the right way?
Totally get what you mean. Samu, just to clear it up, TikTok videos and YouTube Shorts aren't locked to the exact same time limit. TikTok clips can be up to a few minutes long, but a lot of folks keep them around that snappy under a minute vibe. YouTube Shorts generally aim for that quick hit format too, but they usually capped at 60 seconds, so you're asking it just fine.
Your mouth, and a device places a morsel of something onto your tongue. You don't get another bite until you eat it or spit it out. By measuring your chew time, the restaurant can adjust the lineup of bites to feature more of the flavors that you tend to swallow. But they don't just hit you with the same flavor time after time.
Shit.
They can also test out some unexpected morsels, because even if it's not...
Exactly. I'm not gonna lie, this should be annoying. Where they recommend some shit that like you would never, you know what I'm saying? Like what I'm doing, look, you know what I'm saying? Looking at the thumbnail of a gat in front of my, you know, Look what it's suggesting. How meth is killing Europe. That's that example, bro. No lie. Go on though, Stacy.
not your favorite, it's just a bite. And there's another one waiting that might be amazing. Without a menu, you lose the experience of choosing, but you gain the experience of being surprised over and over and over again. Plus, a lot more people can make morsels than can make a whole menu, so this restaurant can recruit way more cooks trying way more tricks to make their morsels tasty.
Shit, more creators?
This restaurant is TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts and all of the other imitators, and it is probably the most engaging media interface that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Just in terms of sheer entertainment by watch time.
Sure.
There's a catch though. This sequential feeding system wouldn't work if the dishes were big or complicated. It only works with morsels. If you take away the user's agency, you arrive at
you know what I'm saying? But like the long form shit is like, okay, I guess for this video we talking brain rot, which is more associated with like shorter form content, since it's like fast food. Yes. Well, I'm talking about, you know, I'm trying to like highlight the longer form shit, because especially for YouTube, you know, that is like full size platters, right? Right there.
We've seen this happen before with.
But they can get real good too. That's all I'm saying.
Instead of a dating app based on a menu, they showed one profile at a time, forcing feedback from the swiper. And what happened? The profiles became short form, just photos, a couple of words, and an algorithm that encodes our subconscious responses more than our reflective intentions. Maybe you noticed that all the dating apps became Tinder. So,
I've never been on a dating app. Talk to me nice about it.
Is all of media becoming TikTok? I've been trying to figure out just how much human attention has shifted into these feeds, but only the platforms know that and they don't release the data. But they do these quarterly calls with investors. And if you go back through the past few years, you can kind of hear just how big of a response Meta and YouTube have made to the rise of TikTok.
Reels already makes up more than 20% of the time, 50% of the time that people spend on Instagram.
Over 15 billion views each day, 30 billion daily
50 billion plus
70 billion.
We now average over 200 million daily views on YouTube shows.
Social media has gone through two eras so far. First was when all content was from friends, family, and accounts that you followed directly. The second was when we added all of the creator content. Now, as AI makes it easier to create and remix content, we're going to add yet another huge corpus of content on top of those.
It's really easy for me to think of this as the bowl of potato chips that someone sticks on the table that you didn't order, but it's there, so you snack on it.
No one can eat just one.
And it makes me wonder if Howtown shorts are kind of like...
At the moment. We're going to get to a point where we cannot tell whether it's real or it's still the AI.
Do you know those like pea-shaped potato chips?
Right. I know what you're talking about.
It's like a green Cheeto.
There's a version of this that's like, but our chips are made of vegetables.
Yeah. I suppose it's no surprise that a bottomless personalized mystery snack dispenser could take over our media diets. But there is such thing as a healthy snack, right? So I'm going to tell you about all the research that I've read about this, and then maybe we can decide how we feel about it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's interesting. As you've been researching all this, I have been feeling especially scatterbrained. I'm like distracted by the news. I've been moving between 2 different continents. So it's a happy coincidence that the sponsor for this week's episode is Headspace, the mental health platform.
Did you try it?
Yeah. They sent me a free subscription, and I've been taking their Finding Focus course, which is basically 10-minute sessions of guided meditation.
Okay.
And it's been really nice, honestly, to have that break in my day. A couple days ago, I actually just did one while I was waiting for the bus. You know, I've done a fair amount of reporting on mindfulness meditation over the years, and there's a real growing body of evidence from some pretty robust studies that it can improve your working memory, it can improve your ability to sustain attention. In one study, people who meditated with Headspace for a month were less distractible than a control group who did these standard brain training exercises, things like puzzles and memory tasks. So if you, dear viewer, want to help your brain to focus, you want to learn to meditate, maybe you just want to have these calm moments built into your day, you can start Headspace for free by following the link in our description box or scanning this QR code that's on screen. Usually it's just a 2-week trial, but with this link, you get a full 60 days completely free.
Beautiful.
Before we get to TikTok, there's a bigger question to answer.
What's the question?
Have our attention spans really shrunk? According to a 2015 post by Time magazine, yes. They're now shorter than a goldfish.
Whoa.
But this is one of those myths that won't die.
Here's a fun fact.
Some researchers have concluded that our attention span is now shorter
than a goldfish.
That's a scientific fact.
The claim came from a report published by Microsoft, which had this graphic showing our attention span declining from 12 seconds to 8 seconds. But they were citing something called statistic brain, which in turn cited these sources. And when journalists tried to track down those sources, they didn't exist. The numbers were entirely made up for both the humans and the goldfish. So what would it really take to measure attention spans? Well, I talked to one of the few people who have tried.
My name is Gloria Mark.
She's written a book called Attention Span, and way back in 2003, she convinced an investment management company to let her peek over the shoulders of 14 of their employees as they worked.
And we would just observe them, and with stopwatches, every time they changed to do something else, we would click on the stopwatch, and it was very, very tiring.
Those employees spent about 2.5 minutes working on their computers before they switched to checking email or doing something else. Fast forward to 2012, she convinces another workplace to let her install software that tracks how often their employees click from one window to another, and finds that they switch every 75 seconds on average. Now it's closer to 40.
So yes, empirically, we can say that on screens, attention spans have shortened.
It's a little tricky because obviously we have this method switch. Like without that dot at 2004, the trend doesn't look as dramatic, right? It's sort of funny to me to think about the adjudicators or the watchers in that first test were also having their attentions tested. Like, were they able to catch? Like, they're also having to focus. The other big question I would have is, like, is this measuring our ability to focus or just how much distracting stuff there is in our lives. What I'm worried about is that I'm no longer able to read a book for 6 hours like I did when I was 12.
Has something changed about your brain?
Yeah, has something changed about the ability of my brain? It's obvious to me that something has changed about the way that computers work. Like, yeah, I've just got notifications. There's literal sounds that are telling me you should be distracted by this other thing right now. And so I'm still curious about like if there's actual damage being done to our mental systems, I guess.
The advantage of Gloria Mark's approach is that it captures real life.
It's not just bringing people into a laboratory, having them sit for an hour in front of a computer, but we actually observed what people did over the day in the course of their actual work.
The limitation is that it can't distinguish between these three different influences on our ability to focus. There's our attentional capacity, that's what we generally think of when we say attention span. Then there's our motivation, how much we need or care about focusing on this task. And there's competition, how much is our environment distracting us? Now in a lab, they can get closer to controlling for motivation and competition, but the tasks that they give people don't look anything like real life. Let me show you. This is a classic attention test. They tell you to memorize this image, and then you go through these rows, crossing out the items that match the one that you memorized. You get 20 seconds per row. There's 14 rows. They look at how many errors you make, how fast you work, whether you get worse over time. And on this test, performance in adults has actually been increasing. That's according to a study that compiled scores from 3 decades and 32 countries. In children, overall performance hasn't changed, but their test-taking style has. They've become faster, making more errors, but also completing more items. Now, researchers who run lab tests like these don't claim to be measuring attention span.
I think we often, in daily life, and I even do this myself, we just talk about attention, and it feels obvious, like we know what it means to pay attention. But actually, if we give people different tasks, we can see that there's distinct components of attention that aren't necessarily related to each other. So
Monica Rosenberg studies patterns of brain activity during attention tests.
when I'm watching a really engaging movie, like my lab YouTube videos about cooking, it's the same kind.
Yeah, nah. The YouTube shit is like, that's the more distracting thing, because you even got the column on the side of recommended videos, bro. Like that kind of viewing type consumption sort of experience. It's like it makes it really hard for you to even sit through a video, or like, you know what I'm saying, it being such a, I get like the the TikTok thing on the phone, on mobile, right? It fills up the whole screen. You kind of don't know what to what you're gonna catch on your next swipe or scroll or whatever. But I'm talking about the desktop, and yeah, even maybe mobile, when you checking out I'm not talking YouTube Shorts, like a YouTube video, regular YouTube video. Yeah, I feel like, how these platforms are designed right now, they really are designed to shorten that attention span.
Kind of attention.
Whereas, you know what I'm saying, like catching maybe a movie at the theater, or at the movies. It's just that, dog. It's just that movie. Like, it's all you have. You don't have an option of going and seeing the next thing off of just curiosity or some shit. Like, you're going to finish this. You're going to sleep through it. Whatever.
Or is there something fundamentally different about being engaged in a narrative that I'm motivated to follow versus forcing myself to do this boring task? And it turns out there's some similarities, but there's also some differences. And so I think how well I do on one task with pictures is not indicative of how well I pay attention all the time in all contexts. It's certainly related, but it's not a perfect measure.
Okay.
So let's set aside the concept of attention spans. It's a really fuzzy term. It's hard to measure. The sharper question to ask is, if you binge short-form video, what exactly gets worse? Is it your memory, your reasoning? That's what the next few studies are trying to pin down. If you ask, do people who...
you know what helps me at least, stick to a sense of focus, or being able to focus? I feel like, shout out to my 9 to 5, man. I'm not gonna lie, like the whole 12-hour experience, every shift that I do go there, it's like at that point you don't have a choice but to fucking do what you're here to do. Like, beyond that, like, you know what I'm saying? There's no time to go like, yo, you know, go out for a snack every now, you know what I'm saying, whenever you feel like it, or I don't know, whatever, right? But you got to be there like the whole allocated time frame, time duration. So from, you know what I'm saying, it's like, of course I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? Because more often, actually most times, I'd rather be elsewhere. But, you know, being chained to that experience via the fact that, you know, that's my survival mechanism, right? You feel me? Every hour, you know, there's a rate to it. There's a rand amount value to it. So, you know what I'm saying? That changed me to the experience, whether I like it or not. But come on, man, you know. Shout out to you for pointing out that there's some good, goddammit, that happens from, you know, at least that. Because it's hitting me right now.
Who say they're addicted to short form video.
I feel like if it wasn't for this kind of experience, right? In my life, I'm like an old head saying, in my life. No, right? If it wasn't for that, like, yeah, I don't know. I think my attention span would be like, I guess, quarter of that goldfish attention span.
Also have trouble
Maybe.
focusing. So far, the answer to that seems to be yes. A recent review of 14 studies found that increased SFV use, that's short form video, was associated with poorer cognition, including attention and inhibitory control. But whenever you see that term was associated with, that's scientist code for, we're not saying this causes the problem.
Right. It's sort of our social media and teen health all over again, where it's, are depressed teens becoming depressed because they are on social media, or are they seeking it out?
Yeah, I think this is the question with basically all of the harmful effects that people are attributing to these new technologies is almost all the research can't distinguish correlation from causation. But there are a few experimental studies that I wanted to highlight. There are at least 2 different cognitive tests where people perform worse after scrolling a shorts feed. One is a kind of trick question quiz, and the other is about whether you can remember to do something that you plan to do. So first, there's a measure based on these 3 questions.
A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
Oh my God, no.
This is supposed to capture analytical thinking. To get these questions right, you have to switch out of autopilot. Like your gut is screaming,
$1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
Shit, okay. A bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. Give me some time to clock that, right? The bat cost $1. Dollar more than the ball. Oh, ball cost. Oh shit. Yeah, that's a good question.
This is supposed to capture analytical thinking. To get these questions right, you have to switch out of autopilot. Like your gut is screaming 10 cents, and you need to override that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I knew that would be like the catch in that trick question, so I didn't say the ball would be 10 cents, but like my mind literally, it did latch onto that. It did latch onto the fact that, okay, now the bat is the $1, and then, you know, the ball is 10 cents, but then, you know, the bat is $1 more than the ball, so that would be, you know what I'm saying, $1 more than 10 cents.
72 college students at Peking University in Beijing took this test after either spending 30 minutes scrolling TikTok, or the Chinese version of TikTok, or 30 minutes reading. And the TikTok group did worse. The researchers wanted to know, does what you watch matter? So they ran a second study, but this time, people watched either a cute animals playlist or a science experiments playlist. They also changed how people watch. Some could swipe through the videos like a normal feed. Others had to sit and watch the same clips stitched together into one long video. And here's what they found. It didn't matter whether you watched animals or science, but the swiping groups consistently did worse on the cognitive reflection test.
Damn.
They got 0.38 fewer questions right out of the 3 questions total. That's 12% of the scale after 30 minutes from just swiping alone.
Okay, interesting. So if you're subjected to essentially just a montage of videos that you don't have control over, you are not degrading your analytical thinking as much as if you're swiping through and getting to just skip whenever you are bored. It's sort of interesting because you think of that decision is interacting with the interface, right? Yep. That decision is cognitively more intense than just sitting back and letting something happen to you, right?
Yeah, unless boredom is cognitive.